For Tesla's batteries, one of the aims is to get down to one or two different form factors for their vehicles. It's just that right now, batteries are so limited, beggars can't be choosers. Well, neither beggars nor $100 billion corporations. When it comes to EV battery supply, there is what there is. So every EV OEM has to make it work with what they've got. But as Tesla ramps up more of their own in-house batteries, then it still doesn't make sense to close down Fremont, or Shanghai even, to move over to the 4680 form. At least not anytime soon, as Tesla just still need to sell so many cars. But after a while, the factories in Fremont and Shanghai will be a relatively smaller contribution to Tesla's output, that eventually the lines could be closed down to upgrade to the latest manufacturing techniques and Tesla's own in-house batteries. Just look how long the S and X lines were down for with just a refresh. Imagine adding the likes of gigapresses in there too. It just simply wouldn't be feasible for the lines to be down that long. Right now, Tesla is still very much supply constrained. Just because Tesla are better at what they do now than say 5 years ago, doesn't mean it is now feasible to change over the old factories. Tesla still need to get as many cars out as possible. Downtime right now when the game has barely started is nonsensical. And Tesla still make profits from the vehicles they're selling from Fremont. But perhaps there will come a time when, say, Tesla are only producing about 10% of their Model Ys from Fremont. Would it then be time to upgrade that factory and keep the products more in unison? Texas will continue to expand until eventually it might end up producing over 5 times as many vehicles as Fremont, even more perhaps. The product mix might be a lot tidier for Tesla if they do not have to have another Model Y production line in another location. This might be the case in perhaps a few years. And would some consumers be concerned that their Model Y is made in Fremont with 2170 batteries instead of a 4680 version coming from Texas? Well, I think Tesla could rectify that by offering the 4680 version at a more premium price, despite it costing much less to produce. Either way, it does get somewhat conflicting, especially if Tesla have lowered their vehicle prices to cater to a more mass market. Although the real profit will eventually come from FSD related products, so perhaps it doesn't matter, and Tesla just want to get as many cars out as fast as possible. But perhaps there will come a time when it makes little sense to keep producing the Y and 3 from Fremont at all, and Tesla will redo the 3 and Y lines to maybe expand the S and X lines. I think there is potential for Model S and X to still hit a massive pivoting point if it could reach greater economies of scale. I think one such point could be to make them in enough quantities to justify a gigapress. Now I believe it's around 200 to 250,000 molds a year that a gigapress can make. If one gigapress is doing front and rear casts, that's enough for about 100,000 vehicles a year. This would even be feasible for Tesla now with Model S and X, but this would save a lot of cost, space, processes and robots in what is still an expensive car. If Fremont was dedicated to just the S and X, then there could be a capacity for over 500,000 units a year. Now that does seem like a lot of units, but would there really be that much demand for these high-end luxury vehicles? Well, if you're in the market for a luxurious electric sedan or SUV, there really isn't much competition. Even in a few years' time, Rivian and Lucid will still be at relatively small numbers, but they aren't the competition. The competition is a BMW X5 or a Mercedes E-Class. Now, we're talking in a few years' time, well, what has happened to the auto market by then? I'm going to guess a lot more consumers are moving over to EVs. Yet, as we know, it takes a really long time to ramp up enough production, and no one else has yet to make a net profit doing so. We haven't really seen much in the way of legacy prototypes even yet that might compete with the S and X. So in a few years, the legacy offering is likely still only going to be the Audi GT, Porsche Taycan or Mercedes EQS. Possibly Porsche might come up with an electric SUV by then though. The Chinese won't be able to ramp up any luxurious vehicles either, as their advantage for ramping up is using LFP batteries, which in the luxury car market won't be able to offer enough range. Either way, all of those cars I mentioned are very expensive. If we are talking potentially 500,000 sales a year for Tesla's luxury vehicles, then Tesla would have to get the prices down significantly. I expect that by this time, Tesla's overall prices may have come down slightly already due to supply increasing so much, and maybe demand needs to be increased by reducing the prices. This is just a theory, it may not occur. Tesla's demand could keep increasing to any level, especially with the upgrades the cars might have received by then. Obviously, one likely one would be the fact the car is capable of driving itself. Alright, so in these new S and X lines, we have gigapresses and other new manufacturing techniques, but also Tesla's own in-house batteries. The 4680 batteries will save a lot of cost in these vehicles, but we would also expect Tesla to have their in-house LFP batteries ramped up by this time too. Now, if you recall before the Model S refresh, the long-range Model S only cost $69,420. This vehicle still had a range of over 400 miles. Now factor in all the other manufacturing cost-saving techniques we can think of, and currently the 18650 batteries are very expensive, which is what Tesla are currently using in their S and X models. Well, what if Tesla's new in-house LFP batteries were energy dense enough to power a Model S? At a guess, this is a cost saving of around $15,000 at least. And again, don't forget the likes of Gigapresses saving costs too. Okay, there may be some more expensive equipment in the refreshed S than the old one, but I don't think to anything like this extent. Basically, I think that perhaps Tesla could produce an LFP version of the Model S which still reaches 300 miles of range, and Tesla could do it very profitably, with a price tag under $60,000. Now, a Mercedes E-Class starts at $55,000, and it obviously has a much higher cost of ownership attached to it too. At this price point, is it possible Tesla could pick up enough sales to justify this level of production to perhaps 250,000 Model S's a year? And maybe something similar again with the Model X, perhaps with a starting price maybe as low as $65,000. Let's not forget the Cato Road 4680 facility is literally just up the road from the Fremont factory. I think I recall Elon saying they could double the capacity there to 20 gigawatt hours a year, but in a few years' time, perhaps an even higher capacity, maybe enough to serve the entire Fremont factory when supplemented by extra LFP batteries. Fremont could then serve as the hub for the luxury Tesla vehicles. Possibly Fremont could also run the Roadster production line there too. However, in the future, Tesla would have possibly launched some more models too, perhaps a luxury coupe to add to the mix as well. The more specialized vehicles could come from these factories, the ones that warrant the higher price tags, and as they're not sold in such mass volume, then they don't necessarily need to be produced at the larger facilities like Texas. There'll be plenty of profit margin available in the luxury vehicles, that it's not as necessary to get costs quite as low. Also, these vehicles will be sold in a much lower quantity than say the Model Y or Compact. The lines may be less automated and more labor relative to robots. Certain machinery may not be justified or other such processes. Even if Tesla didn't take the path of the LFP batteries in the Model S, then I would say Tesla could still lower the prices dramatically due to how much cost saving there'll be going from 18650 batteries to 4680 batteries. We've already seen what the demand for the $130,000 Model S Plaid has been like. The car is sensational, but a standard range version coming in at under half that price? Well, I'd say the demand would be pretty high. I know a lot of people think a Mercedes understands luxury better than Tesla, but for starters, in the EV world, longer range is also considered a luxury. A Mercedes won't win there without much higher price tags. And I think luxury is being reshaped and less is becoming more. Car cabins need to be more minimalist, with fewer buttons everywhere, no gear sticks, no hideous air vents, no antiquated door handles, and they need a large widescreen for entertainment. Technology has progressed luxury. Well, Tesla's technology. For those of you who are Tesla owners listening, you'll probably know what I mean. You get used to Tesla luxury, and when you see things like door handles or air vents, it makes these cars look very aged and dated. The Model S is still a very luxurious car and has all the main latest luxury features you expect, especially if you can reach the price point we've mentioned. It is exceptional value, along with the minimal running costs. Oh, of course, Teslas have the ultimate luxury feature too, a built-in chauffeur. Hard to compete on that one. Anyway, Tesla went to a lot of effort with the new S and X refreshes, and judging by the demand, they're going to be incredibly popular. If they can offer versions at half the price, then perhaps there'll be enough demand if Fremont was exclusive to the luxury models, and potentially accompanied by a luxury coupe or the Roadster too. Thanks for listening. Please hit the thumbs up and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter and talk to me on Patreon.